zesty.
Yeah, mayo, lettuce, tomato, and pickle okay on the grilled chicken?
That is lovely, yes. 133. I'm happy that you just sipped fuel on the way here, Mr. M2. Well guys, it is once again that time of year where we road trip out to Gingerman Raceway to fully evaluate if one of these sort of track car for the street cars is able to do what it's intended to do. And well, this is one that I've really been looking forward to ever since our friend Miles Per Hour bought one of these for himself out in California and has been daily driving it now for a couple of months. It looks like a whole lot of fun, and I said I want to have a go, and BMW delivered. So today, for our little road trip track day extravaganza, we're driving this 2026 BMW M2 CS, the current most hardcore version of the BMW M2. CS, of course, standing for Competition Sport, and this is not new as far as CS badges go. There's been an M2 CS in the past. BMW currently make an M3 and an M4 CS, but this one's a bit different in the way that it doesn't get xDrive like the 3 and the 4, though BMW did just announce that for 27 they are going to be making an xDrive version of the M2, so maybe eventually the CS will get it. But for now, this is rear-wheel drive only. Up front, the S58 twin power turbo 3-liter straight six, boosted up to 523 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque, matching the power of the M3 and M4 competition here in this M2 CS. Of course, attached to this, the 8-speed automatic. Now, another thing worth bringing up is BMW just announced the M3 CS Handschalter, which is a manual version of the M3 CS. So there are many possibilities with what we may see in the future for the M2 CS, but for the time being, this is what we have. What else is different with this? Well, usually with the CS cars, BMW go through and they tweak just about everything. So I mentioned that we have a boosted power output, but this also sits 0.2 of an inch lower than a standard M2. We have unique throttle tuning, gearbox tuning, differential tuning, brake tuning. All that stuff has been messed with and tweaked just a bit to complement this CS trim. Now, keen-eyed viewers will have noticed this little black lip at the front. But the most obvious difference and the easiest way to spot a CS, apart from the gold wheels, which are also unique, is this ducktail spoiler in this trunk that is made out of carbon fiber reinforced plastic. If it will open, thank you so much. And you can see that when you open this up. It's all carbon fiber, which helps this M2 CS weigh a little bit less than a standard M2. And when I say a little bit, I mean it not sarcastically. This only weighs 97 pounds less than an automatic transmission equipped regular M2, which is already heavier than a manual transmission equipped M2. So if you compare this to the manual car, it's only about 50 pounds lighter. So, you know, they go through and they do their things. They put like a carbon fiber center console in, which we'll talk about once we get in, which I think is very silly and definitely not ideal for our road trip today. But we'll start with a couple road trip essentials here. You can see in this trunk, which is not any bigger. It's just the standard G87 2 Series trunk. We've got my backpack with my camera equipment and my little Yeti bag that Emily has filled with some snacks for me at the track, but not a meal, because we're going to stop at Culver's on our way in Battle Creek, which is the one we went to in the Lotus Emira, and it seemed like a pretty nice Culver's, so we'll test it out in the M2 CS as well. But, you know, as far as trunk space goes, I don't really think this is going to be a problem for you, and if you're traveling with somebody, if you're going to a track far away, I think the two of you could easily fit all of your belongings here in this trunk. It's funny, BMWs used to have toolkits right here, and now you take this guy out, and it's just nothing. So I don't know what the point of this even is, but I was thinking, you know, this has the carbon seats, which means it has the little removable headrests with the T25, so you can wear a helmet in the car. How cool would it be if they put just like a little T25 in there or something? That would be so fun and a cool use of that space. But man, that is such a cool looking trunk, and I love that they kind of did this special little twist here for the M2, because the M3 and the M4 don't get a special trunk like this. As far as exhaust goes, this is also kind of a leg down from the 3 and 4, which get a titanium, partial titanium exhaust. This only gets black tips. That's your only uniqueness here to this exhaust that I'm aware of, because in the press release, it didn't say anything about this being titanium, so I have to assume that it is not, and it doesn't really sound that much different from the regular M2, which leads me to believe that the exhaust is not different. Let's show you this S58, which, by the way, is the same engine that they use in the IMSA car, the M4 GT3 Evo. So, you know, this engine is proven, it does its thing, and it's in just about everything. Every M car that has a 6-cylinder has this S58 powertrain. And again, to reiterate, 523 horsepower, 479 pound-feet of torque. And this car, you know, it's under 4,000 pounds. It weighs in at 3,770. So, I don't know, it's not the lightest thing in the world, obviously. We like to poke fun at BMW for making big, heavy cars. But at the end of the day, this is going to have plenty of power, especially considering it's 2-wheel drive only. Now in the front, we have these special kidney grills as well, and special openings in the bumper here, which just make it so you suck lots of things in. You can see down here there's a leaf in there and about a pound of gravel also just kind of sitting in the front bumper. So I imagine someday, or there probably already is, a company that makes maybe some mesh that goes in there. As you guys know, my fiance Emily has a 981 Porsche Boxster, and it has a similar problem with exposed radiator grills, and there are many companies that make little mesh inserts to protect your assets in there. Anyway, let's show you the interior. We gave you a sneak peek talking about what is different on this interior, and the main things are the seats and the center console. These seats are not unique to the CS, only the little badges on them are, but these are the carbon buckets that we know and love that are in the G80, G82, G87, all this stuff. They all have these as options. They're standard in the CS, and you know, these seats, I always like to say, never judge a seat by its cover, by its appearance, because I did a road trip in these in an M4 convertible around the entire state of Michigan, and they were fine. So the only real problem with these is ingress and egress. We'll talk about that in a second after we show you the back seat. But I always love to show these seats from the back too, because they are just exquisitely designed. I think some of the coolest looking seats currently on the market. Just beautiful, and that gloss carbon fiber exposed here on the back. And here's the other thing about the G87, okay, is that the back seat is genuinely usable. Like, you could put 2 other people back here. You don't have cup holders. Emphasis on there being just literally no cup holders in this car. The back seat's no different, but you do have this little pass-through for if you're going golfing or skiing or something. You can put your bits through here to extend your room. I'm using the passenger rear seat for my helmet because there's no sort of netting in the back for me to secure this, and helmets roll around and damage themselves and other things while you're driving, so I wanted to secure this guy in here, and luckily this does just that. Now, we have also done this road trip in, oh dear, what was that? Things are rubbing. We have also done this road trip in the M4 CSL. Now, that is an even more hardcore version of the M4 competition at the time, because the CSL is rear-wheel drive, but that had a little spot in the back just for helmets, which I thought was super cool. Okay, let's jump in this thing. You kind of just have to learn to fall into this car, and I've got the seat adjusted all the way into its lowest position, because that's another thing I love about these carbon buckets is how low you can sit. So you kind of just have to ragdoll into this car, and eventually you get used to it and you're just fine. And the most annoying part about these seats is this outer leg bolster, because that's really what you have to get over to get into the car. Closing the door makes me notice this Harman Kardon tweeter, because you get a standard Harman Kardon here in this M2 CS. And that reminds me, we have not talked about price yet. This starts at $98,000 with destination and things around 100 grand. This one has a couple of options, which, shoot, we're just all over the place today. Apologies, guys, but this is why you come to Topher Drives, I guess. This one has the optional carbon ceramic brakes, and a little bit disappointing. They don't give you the gold calipers, so you kind of just have to look at these. And I didn't get a Monroney with this car either, so I'm just looking at these, and these very much look like carbon ceramics to me, so I'm going to say that they are. $8,500 option, and this is on a Pilot Sport 4S, which was a bit surprising. I thought it would show up on a Cup 2, but these are staggered wheels as well. A 275/35 ZR19 on the front, and it's a 20 on the back. 285/30 ZR20, so really cool. I mean, I love these wheels too. They just look the business, especially in gold. The MSRP on this car should be somewhere around $111,000, and we'll have that down in the description for you guys if you need to reference it during the video. Not a whole lot of options available here with the M2 CS. They pretty much just load it up, take some weight out, and give you a couple extras along the way. But let's go ahead and start this up, and we'll continue the tour of the interior. So, we're going to be sitting in these carbon buckets today for about 4.5 to 5 hours combined. It's like 2 hours and 20 minutes out to Gingerman. It's in South Haven. We're currently in Ypsilanti, and we'll be able to see what kind of MPG this gets as well. I'm going to reset the trip computer as we do on our road trips. We'll make a stop to get some food. But the coolest thing about this trip to Gingerman is in the middle of the road trip, we do a track day. So it's a real test to see if these cars can road trip out to the track, do a track day, and road trip home comfortably, somewhat efficiently, and in a way that would make you want to do it again. Because there are a lot of these cars that are made to go to the track, but I feel like people never really use them for that purpose. Most annoying part of the CS is the carbon center console, which, don't get me wrong, looks excellent. It's a very attractive thing, all this exposed glossy carbon. You get this little wrist rest to use your iDrive 8.5, but instead of cup holders, they give you a wireless phone charger, which I feel like just adds weight. Wouldn't cup holders be lighter than a wireless phone charger? And not even to mention, BMW wireless chargers are basically just phone microwaves, so I don't use them anyway. So I've just been putting my phone in this little bit here, which doesn't quite fit it, but you could also stick it on the passenger seat if you don't have any passengers with you. iDrive 8.5, we know this, we don't really need to talk about it. CS obviously still has the 2 customizable M modes. I've got my M1 set up for street, which is everything in comfort except engine in Sport Plus, gearbox in S3, and then I've got my M2 mode set up for basically full traction control in MDM, all the stuff in its hottest setting. CS gets you the standard Alcantara steering wheel, which I love to see as well, but otherwise, it's just pretty normal G87 stuff in here. Obviously, we have the carbon roof, which I probably should have showed you guys on the outside. That is standard, of course, on the CS as well, and just looks the business. And you know, I kind of like that BMW doesn't go crazy with the striping on this. They don't have like the crazy black and orange stripes like you get on the 3 and the 4. This one's a bit more simple looking, and I really like it for that. Okay, we shouldn't have to get out of the car anymore, I hope. ADHD car reviews, here we go. Okay, so I'm currently using the only spot that you could potentially put a cup for my time-lapse GoPro, because it fits in there okay. And then obviously the passenger gets one as well. So those are your only choices for cups, and well, just screw you if you want to bring any more, I guess, because you bought the CS, and you care about weight more than you care about having drinks in the car. All right, let's go ahead and reset the individual trip here, and we'll get this thing out on the road and we'll show you what it's like to road trip into reverse. Let's turn the parking brake off. We just have a reversing camera on this because 360 cameras are very heavy. That would have probably added another 2 pounds to this or something. Could not have that. Into drive, we have parking sensors, but of course no camera because there's no 360 on this. Now, okay, admittedly, you guys, I have not driven this at all prior to today because today's Monday, it's Memorial Day, and this got delivered on Friday. Well, it's been raining constantly since Friday, and I didn't want to take this out and get it all dirty for the video, and also, what can you really do with this thing in the rain anyway as far as putting power down? So you'll also kind of be getting my first driving impressions on this M2 CS as we set off today. Now this has an MPG rating that is identical to the regular automatic M2, so it's rated at 16 MPG in the city, 23 MPG on the highway, and 19 combined. So hoping to see that 23 figure as we go out, especially considering we're not on a track-specific tire. The CS cars, they always just have a little bit more urgency than a standard M car. And it is kind of saying a lot because regular M cars are very, very ready to go. They're eager to get on with it. But the CS has the unique throttle tuning, the unique gearbox tuning, the drive logic. It's all tuned for the CS. So these are, what's like a dog that's super hyper? A bull terrier. It kind of just, it acts like a, you know, bull terriers, they just like spin around in circles and they're always ready to just, that's kind of what this car acts like. But that isn't to say that it's lurchy. The gearbox doesn't break your neck. It's all just very finely tuned. Now it does rev itself out quite a bit. Under about half throttle in transmission mode D1, which you can adjust here on the fly on the shifter, or just set it to correspond with your M1 or M2 mode, which is usually what I do. Now, in a somewhat untraditional manner, we haven't hit the performance section back there, but that is because we are going to a racetrack, which means you guys will be able to see performance on this car anyway. I don't need to be redundant and show it to you twice. So if you want to skip to the middle of the video and see what this is like on the racetrack, I very much invite you to do so. You can go ahead and check that out. I will, if I remember, I'll put chapters down in the description, so you guys can skip around. But I'm mostly curious to see what this is like to sit in here. I'd say the most noticeable tweak that BMW makes to these CS cars is the steering, because just the most microscopic little adjustment you make sends the M2 just darting into the other lane. It's hysterical. Ready? Look at that. Just signal on, one little move, and you're in the other lane immediately. Geez, talk about masking your speed as well. Is everybody just flying, or is this a very optimistic speedo today? First destination here, Culver's, 86 miles away, an hour and 10 minutes. We will go ahead and get this done. But under first impressions, you know, yeah, it's always going to be a little bit louder when you have a CS, because the emphasis here is on weight savings. They're not really too concerned about quietness in the cabin. I just like that this has a Harman Kardon sound system, so you're able to drown some things out. And we will give you a test on this later on in the video, probably when we're on our way home, so you guys can get an idea for what that's like. And I like what I see with this cruise control system, because all of your adjustments are right here on the steering wheel. You want to adjust your following distance, that's right here next to your speed adjustment. Resume, cancel, all of this stuff. If you want to switch to a speed limiter instead of cruise control, it's all right here. So that is good. You don't have to go into the infotainment to change stuff like some modern BMWs make you do, like the 7 Series. You have to go in there and change it. So I like to see that, and this might be proof that BMW is actually listening to people, that they want their physical adjustments on the steering wheel. MPG already showing 20.4. Nice to see that we're already over 20. But all right, well, I'm going to settle into this thing a little bit instead of boring you guys with first impressions, and we will pick this back up once we are exiting to go to the promised land, to the Culvers in Battle Creek, that is. All right, we'll talk to you guys soon. In typical BMW fashion, this is vastly outperforming the EPA's highway estimate. We're doing 27.8 mpg, nearly 5 mpg over the EPA's 23 mpg estimate. After 84.7 miles here on the highway, I just keep watching this go up. It went to 24, and then it went to 25. I thought surely it won't go any higher, and now it's acting like it's going to touch 28. So impressive. The B58 and S58 are such impressive engineering masterpieces. These engines are just incredible. So happy to see the efficiency here, even though this is the CS. They're not always as efficient as the regular cars, but this is really cool. Otherwise, what has this been like to sit in? Well, honestly, it's kind of just been BMW M car business as usual. The seat is doing just fine for me so far. No complaints, and I even discovered the little power bolster adjuster, which I always forget is there on the side of the seat, so you can have these be a little bit more loosey-goosey as you're going down the highway. And then I think when I get to the track, I'll tighten them up a bit to hug me in around the corners. But the Harman Kardon sound system, I'm kind of torn on it, and we'll do a test in a little bit. We're not going to do it just yet, but I'm still kind of messing with the tuning, trying to get it dialed in, because its factory settings are not really that great. As far as places to put your arms, well, the left, or driver's door panel, as I should say, does have a pretty good little squishy bit here to rest your left elbow. And obviously, you know, the elephant in the interior is this carbon fiber center console. What I've been doing is kind of resting my forearm on it and then resting my hand on this shifter. And since this isn't a manual transmission car, no one in the comments will get mad at me for kind of resting my hand right here, because people get very upset when you rest your hand on the shifter in a manual car, even when you're applying no pressure. It doesn't take much to upset the internet, though, as we know. But I have set my shop key over in this little cubby, or little hole right there, because it kept falling out of my pocket due to the angle of the seat. Seating position is lovely. I told you guys that I really love sitting low down in these cars, but even with that, I have no problem seeing out of it. Rearward visibility is fine. These mirrors do a good job, which, by the way, are carbon and have the signature little M, whatever you call that little design element there on the edge. Those do a good job, and as far as like the layout of everything in here, I'm okay with it. We still have a volume knob. Obviously, iDrive 8.5 fixed some of the issues we had with iDrive 8, adding some more constant icons to the bottom of the screen. So I've just got the climate control on auto right now. You're able to easily adjust your temperature. And obviously I'd prefer a full physical climate control panel, but I haven't been annoyed by any of this stuff so far on the trip, 87 miles in. We are doing okay. And honestly, I really like these steering wheel controls to adjust the cruise control. I have adjusted those a couple of times. MPG still going up, 27.9 now. Unfortunately, I think we're going to diminish that a bit because we are going to go through the Culver's drive-thru here in just a few minutes as we jump off the highway. But really happy to report that this M2 CS is kind of living up to my expectations. You know, I always just assume that these BMWs are going to thrive in situations like this. You know, we've done this road trip with a number of them. We've done it with the M4 CSL, and even that was okay, minus me having to pull over about here, I think, to put a pillow on the seat because those are full, like, non-adjustable buckets and a whole different animal than these carbon buckets that we have in this M2 CS. And then we've also done this with the X6M competition. So the BMWs, they always just do such a great job at this sort of thing, and it makes them a very attractive option for this kind of all-round track day daily driver solution. There's that 28 as we coast off the highway. Compliments to the tune on this ZF 8-speed auto as well. Steering weight in this is actually on the lighter side here when you're just in your normal drive mode. I think I'm going to go a little bit off script today for my Culver's order and get a grilled chicken sandwich. And then Emily sent me with some strawberries in the trunk, so we'll just do a happy little healthy Culver's order today as I count my macros and things as we continue to lock in for my wedding, which is in just about 4 months. So we are staying locked in. Man, what an empty Culver's today. I do see lights on inside though. That's a good sign that they are at least open. No 360 camera here for the drive-thru, so we are just going to use our eyes to see out of the car. It's a bit
Thank
early.
you for choosing Culver's. Can we have a name for the order?
Yeah, Chris,
Thank you. What can I make fresh for you today?
may I please just have a grilled chicken sandwich and a water to drink?
Yeah, mayo, lettuce, tomato, and pickle okay on the grilled chicken?
That is lovely, yes.
And I'm sorry, and for the water, did you want to do bottled or fountain?
Just a fountain is good.
Anything else today?
That's it.
$7.94. Thank you.
Thank you. So weird not ordering like tenders and a basket and everything. And also, it's a bit weird being at Culver's at 10:49 a.m. But you know, we did this with the Lotus Emira. In fact, I think I was here even earlier with that car. But I'm pretty hungry, and I have to eat before I go on the track. So this is our solution.
Sorry, I'm
Thank
really
you.
short.
Oh, you're good. Thanks.
Put that on the mirror. for
All
me,
right,
please.
got it.
And pull forward. Have a good one.
You too. All right, I'm holding the drink, and now that I think about it, actually, I maybe should have gotten a bottle of water. But okay, we're gonna try and like rearrange some stuff here. And I'm also gonna shut this off to not diminish our fuel economy. But I'm gonna move the time-lapse GoPro, I guess just to the passenger seat where you can see I've got my pile of other stuff, my hat and my phone, and then see if we can. Is this gonna sit here or is this gonna be a hazard? Okay, I think that'll be okay because I'll end up drinking that much water by the time I leave. Receipt will go in the glove box where I'm storing my little T25 guy. We'll leave that in there, and it just have stuff scattered all over here. There's nothing that like the glove box is the only like sealed compartment in this entire car. There's no other choice.
though.
Oh, hello.
Chris,
Yes.
grilled chicken.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Just put that right there. Okay. I'm gonna go park over there and have this because the grilled chicken sandwich not as easy to eat on the go. So we're just gonna go over here and do it. And if you're a German watching this, I apologize in advance because yes, I'm going to eat in the car, but I promise you will survive. And you can skip this bit in the video if it's going to bother you that much. I suggest you just skip ahead. It'll be better for both of us. Let's get this into a spot. You know, I gotta say, I love the way that BMW does this automatic shifter where they make it kind of feel like you're putting a manual car into reverse. All right, we'll get this. We'll pull the parking brake and we'll shut this back off. Should I do my thumbnail here at Culver's? Who knows? And then you've got actually this little trunk button, which I think has been the same since like the E90 generation of these cars. This will allow me to access my strawberries that I have here. I am dilly-dallying a bit, but you know what? I think I have enough time to get to the track still. And we'll bring these up and have them with our lunch. Why not? Thanks, Emily. What a lovely day it is today. Let's see how she looks today. Oh, yeah. You know, Culver's will actually sell you a gluten-free bun as well, which I have done a couple of times. The only bummer about that is you then have to assemble the sandwich yourself. It just takes extra time, but it's still good. I will say the one thing that this console does okay is allow you to place all of your stuff. I've got my strawberries up on the wireless phone charger and my sandwich fits right behind the shifter. All right, I'm gonna finish eating this stuff and then we'll jump back on the road. Okay, sit rep, the carbon fiber center console has started creaking very badly. I don't know if you guys can hear that over some of these bumps. It's that sort of thing. So that's very annoying. Also, fuel economy has gone back up from what it was when we left Culver's, which was 27.2. It's now back up to 27.6. And we're stopping in 3 minutes to top off the 13.7 gallon fuel tank because I want to make sure I have a full tank for when I'm at the track because cars drain fuel very quickly on the track. So we'll see what it costs to top up the 93 on this. But as far as other impressions go, I do just want to compliment the ride quality in this because obviously we talked about this has the full adaptive dampers on all four corners like all M cars do these days, but these do have a special CS tune. But it seems like when you're in comfort mode, they're about the same as the regular M2. In fact, they may be exactly the same. They may just stiffen up a bit more when you're in your M1 or your M2 mode with the suspension in sport. But what I'm trying to say here is the ride quality is great for a road trip, for daily driving. I've had no problem with this. And even with having a 30-section sidewall on the back tire, it's really doing a fine job. As far as holding cups in here, a secure lid. That is the name of the game. Make sure that your cup, make sure it's snapped on there nice and tight, because if you have something that's loose, you're just going to ruin the carpet and possibly some electronics underneath it. But I guess that works okay as a cup holder. It's a little bit of a sorry excuse, but these are just the same door panels pulled from the regular M2 minus they have little light up CS badges in the carbon fiber there, which you guys probably can't see because they aren't lit currently, but maybe on the way back you'll be able to see them when it's a little bit darker. Anyway though, let's get this thing pulled into the fuel station. This is a German car, so fuel will be on the right hand side. I don't know how much fuel costs over here. Sometimes when you're out in the middle of nowhere, it's very hit or miss. Sometimes it's very expensive, or sometimes it's much cheaper than normal. $4.78 for regular. Okay, we'll see what premium is. Whew, $6.17. Holy crap. All right, well, my goodness. All right, that's a little bit hard to swallow. The car's not gonna have a hard time swallowing it. Let's go put some in, and then we'll continue on our trip. No sort of like popping mechanism or anything here. You just press on these and they open up. Though they do have a fuel cap. And they always say BMW recommends Shell V-Power. No, we don't have that here today. Okay, M2. Take a big swig. Look at this. Even despite this being a CS, BMW still give you spots to mount a roof rack if you'd like. Or perhaps a roof tent if you want to take your M2 CS camping. Many of options. There you go, 5.3 gallons, not too bad. I'm happy that you just sipped fuel on the way here, Mr. M2. This is one of those cars that kind of requires you to make the dad sound when you sit down, like the It's a bit of a heave into the driver's seat. Okay, I'm gonna ruin the fuel economy prematurely. I really have not gotten on this thing fully yet, so I don't want to be shocked when I get on the track. So let's see what it's got here. Oh yeah, that is zesty. 29 minutes to go until we get to Gingerman Raceway. Gonna be a little bit late, but it was worth it to have a Culver's grilled chicken sandwich. So I'm not mad at this result, but I'll check in with you guys when I'm pulling up to the track. All right, let's get her pulled in here to Gingerman Raceway. And we'll see what's up here. All right, I'm gonna go in and pay my dues to Big Gingerman, and then we'll get this thing out on the track, and we'll get going. First step when taking the CS on the track, or any M car that has the carbon buckets, yeah, you gotta remove these guys. Luckily, I brought this little multi-tool. And you take your T25 and you take these guys out. Once you got the screws out, this guy pops right off. So you got these couple little clips there. And then you put this in the center. Just kidding, there's no center console. So anyway, find somewhere to put it. Yeah, throw it in the back seat, I guess. And then the screws, best bet is probably just to thread these guys back in, because then you can't lose them. Hi, I've missed you.
You have?
Yeah, have you missed me?
Yeah, with every bullet.
Alrighty guys, the time has come to bring you all along on track. We went out and did some sighting laps earlier, shot a video for Winding Road Magazine, but now it's time to give you some impressions here of this thing for our road trip video. We're gonna be following Sean in the GT4.
I'm gonna lower the tire pressure a little bit.
Do it. There's a lot to do in here. I have to set some stuff up, so the timing should be good.
Manual, automatic. Oh, these are the weapons.
All right, so let's do our M2 configuration. The Topher was driving this last. He had DSC off. I'm gonna go MDM. I like to be a little bit safer. And I mean, your M traction control, you can only edit it if it's DSC fully off. So if you're in MDM, it does its own thing. That's not available. M sound, I'm gonna leave on. Steering, I think I'm gonna leave that in comfort. The Topher had this set up for that. Chassis, we're gonna go Sport Plus because it was a little floaty on the back straight in comfort and regular sport. So we're gonna go stiffest as we can with that. Transmission in S3, that's gonna be the most aggressive manual mode for our paddles. And yeah, that's good. We're gonna save this. Now, the cool thing about this is you can just turn the screen completely off. If you put this into M mode, you can say activate track. This will get rid of all of your driver assistance features. So if the car thinks it needs to intervene, it won't actually intervene. So that's all turned off, and it gets rid of the infotainment. So you just have a nice clean view in here. It changes the gauge cluster as well. You can see all of that. So I think we're just about ready to go.
You know, they say when you drive nice cars like yours or mine, the most used tool in the toolbox is the lawn chair.
All right, let's see if we can keep up with this Cayman GT4. I have faith. Now, usually the most impressive thing about these CS cars is the way that they're able to kind of mask all of these differences, these elevations they have from these standard M cars when you're on the street. but then the way that they are very distinguishable while you're on the track. It's usually a super impressive package, and well, I've already had a bit of a sneak peek, and this thing is wild. I also rode around with the Topher a little bit earlier, so I've seen what this thing can do, and it is just wildly impressive. So excited to take you guys all along and show you firsthand. All right, we're gonna get these tires warmed up a bit here. This car's been sitting off track for a little bit, so do a nice warm-up lap. We had a car off on the previous lap, so we're just gonna have to be a little careful on that last corner, but for the most part, the track is nice and clear for us. So let's open this thing up a bit and get our wipers off of auto and see if we can hang with Sean. I think this car is quite a bit faster at a straight line, so geez. You know, it's the one thing main thing I've noticed so far out here is just how seriously fast this M2 CS is, and this goes for all fronts. You know, you can sit here and complain all day about the steering being numb, yes, okay, but the way in which this thing is able to hide its weight and also just boogie so hard out here. I'm having to sandbag quite a bit here. Taking it easy around here, a little bit of sand. I always say that some of my favorite laps of Gingerman were in the Topher's old Camaro SS1LE, and I was chasing Sean during those laps, and it was pretty even. And in this M2 CS, I'm having to lift quite a bit. I don't think Sean's gotten any worse at driving, so goes to show just how quick this M2 CS really is. MDM saving us there. All right, we're turning the dial up just a bit. This corner is so satisfying when you get it right. GT4 sounds really good. BMW do this thing where they write a number on paper that's sort of vaguely similar to the amount of power that the car actually makes, and I think this is one of those cases where this car actually makes something like 523 horsepower to the wheels. I don't think that's crank horsepower. I think this thing is really putting down a lot. And that's probably the fuel reserve, yep. God, it just pulls on him like a freight train on this straight. That is alarming. Look at it go. You push into these brakes, the more impressive they are. Just unbelievable. The carbon ceramics, they don't fade, they just keep going. Overall, the chassis, it's pretty playful, rotates just beautifully. I mean, it is just like a ballet dancer out here. Pretty light on its feet. Coming up on a Honda Fit. all the car you ever need, even on the racetrack apparently. Look at that. Into those brakes, and we're taking it easy around here. A little bit of sand on the track, into power. Gear changes from the 8-speed automatic are pretty sharp. A little bit lazier in downshifts just because this is a torque converter automatic, so it does just kind of slur the downshifts a little bit. You know, the introduction of this 8-speed automatic, it did kind of take away from that special feeling of the DCT powered M cars, but for the most part, it makes it a much faster experience. The front end on this thing, my goodness. Going around a corner in this, I just feel like I'm painting a picture, you know? Very nice, even little strokes. The car, it knows exactly where I want it to go. My goodness, MDM is so impressive, it makes you feel like the biggest superhero. Geez, Graham's holding his own in this Camaro. I tell ya, these Camaros are really, really good out here. This is the second car now that I've just pulled on like absolutely crazy on this back straight, and it really puts into perspective how this thing just pulls like an absolute freight train. Get the feeling that I could just be out here all day in this. In fact, I couldn't because I'm about to be out of fuel, but if fuel was unlimited, I think this car could just stay out here all day. These M cars are so impressive in the way that they run cooler on the track than they do on the street. I mean, I'm barely a notch below the little middle section here on my temp gauge. And when you're on the street, it sits dead right at the middle. So, just so impressive. All right, we're gonna take it in because I need to get some fuel. Don't want to run out while I'm out here. We're gonna let her coast here. But my goodness, what a car. Oh, these have been some of my favorite laps at Gingerman driving this M2 CS. Hate on this thing all you want for being too heavy to be a CS, you know, whatever the comments that I've read, but what an impressive piece of engineering this is. Seriously, puts it into perspective. This is why I like to do this sort of thing, guys, because you can drive the car to the track. I spend 150 miles in it, then I do a full track day, then I drive it another 150 miles home, and it just, it really might be the best car we've done this in thus far. I mean, just seriously impressive.
We're talking about how you must have freaking LSX swapped this.
It's so fast.
Oh my goodness.
I was behind Graham in his SS1LE and I had to go half throttle out of it on the straightaway. It's so
It just
fast.
seems like you got so much grip too.
It does, yeah.
It's awesome.
And the MDM system's really impressive too.
Out of the gate, you are gone.
Yeah.
I come up that hill and you're already at the braking zone. It was insane. Yeah.
So after a couple more sessions out, giving some friends some rides, and getting a point buy from a Ferrari 458, it was time to wrap it up and hit the road back home. Welcome back to camera one. We have regular audio again, where there's a bunch of drift cars going out on Gingerman, which means we are done for the day. And man, was this a fun one. This M2 CS was such a good time. So let's start this up, let's get back on the road, and let's talk about it. As you guys can see, my belongings are just thrown everywhere into this interior. You know, we bring a lot of cars out here, and it's never really a surprise that they're good on track, because a lot of the cars we bring out here are sort of purpose-built for this sort of thing. But there's usually some kind of shortcoming with the cars, whether it be on the road or on the track. And yes, this one has this silly center console, but pretty much completely otherwise. It got 28 miles per gallon on the way here. The suspension was comfortable enough. It's got a halfway decent sound system, an infotainment that works, and yet it went out on the track and it was one of, if not the most impressive car that we've ever had out here at Gingerman. And by most impressive, I don't mean it was the fastest, I don't mean it was the best around a corner, I just mean I think it may be the most well-rounded car, because you could argue, sure, that X6M competition that we brought out here, that can do more, but you sacrifice more on track with that. You go through brakes faster, you go through tires faster, whereas this, it just kind of does everything just right. And take it from everyone else that either rode in the car or watched it go by in the tower, they could not believe how quick this thing was moving. And it just blew us all away. I mean, what a rock star this thing was out on the track. It really kind of is just a do-it-all car, this M2 CS. I understand why our friend Miles bought one of these. It's just a lovely thing, and I'm excited now to do the next 2 hours sitting in this on the way home. I'm sure it'll be good too. We'll have some more impressions for you guys. But you know what? Why don't we do our sound system test now? And then when we wrap up and stuff, once it's a little bit darker out, we'll just give you some final thoughts, and that'll be the end of it. Now, I must admit, I have messed with the EQ in this, and I usually don't. But for some reason, a lot of the Harman Kardon equipped BMWs that I've driven lately have just had really crappy factory tuning. Emphasis on that, the X3 M50 was really not good. This one's a little bit better, but it's just so flat at bass EQ. So I boosted the treble, I boosted the bass. Those are your only two sort of standalone options. And then you have the multiple band equalizer. I went and I messed with that a little bit too. The good thing about this sound system is it gets loud, so you can drown out some of this tire sound on the highway, and it does okay. Would I like to see maybe a little bit better sound system in this? Sure. I think BMW kind of needs to lock in with their Harman Kardon sound systems, because kind of the only good things they're making right now are their Bowers and Wilkins systems, and it didn't really used to be this way. So I don't know why they've kind of been slacking with these lately, but not the best sound system in the world, but gets the job done for kind of the essence of this car, being a track car for the street. So I'm not too mad at it, and it did fine on the way here, drowning out the tire noise on the highway. Anyway though, I've got another 2 hours to spend in this thing, so I'm gonna get that done, and then we'll conclude with some final thoughts once I am at the end of my journey. Welcome back to the final part here of our road trip in the 2026 BMW M2 CS, where we just passed a Ferrari towing a trailer. I don't know that I'll ever be as cool as that guy, but hey, we are doing okay here in this car. Pretty good levels of coolness here in the M2 CS, and also pretty high levels of efficiency. 29.8 mpg we're seeing here from the value sense individual reader. Just unbelievable. And this actually did creep over 30 mpg. I had a B-roll shot in one of the montages. It got up to like 30.1, I think was the highest that I saw. So thinking averaging between the 28 and we'll call this 30, I mean, I would say this is a solid 29 mpg contender here, which means it beat its EPA rating by 6 mpg on the highway, which is just wild. So then, how's the rest of it? Well, I realized about half an hour into my drive that I forgot to put the headrest back in. When I went to lean my head back to rest on the highway, I was met with just a piece of styrofoam. So that I've had to deal with. Not that big of a deal. But mainly, the most irritating thing about this is the center console, which has been creaking relentlessly on this trip. And I feel like it's gotten worse, honestly. Like, since I've left the track, I don't know if all the G-forces like tweaked it or something, but I mean, it's really terrible. So definitely need to get this center console figured out. I'd just throw it away. Give me the regular M2 center console in this, and I would be a happy camper. But honestly, apart from the stupid center console and the slightly increased NVH and the steering wheel being a bit big, okay, it's a very pretty steering wheel, but it is kind of big for this car. And the climate controls being in the screen. Okay, apart from those few silly little things, this is one of the most wonderful, all-rounder, full chat, like just great cars that makes sense. And I know I said this earlier before we cut and, came to this last part, but I'm seriously impressed with what BMW has put together here for this latest generation of M2 CS. I think they've split this gap just about perfectly between track car and street car. Man, look at this setup too. Baller status. This plate said dual E, D-U-E-L space E. That's cool. But I respect the heck out of this car, and I think it really is just right. I don't know that performance-wise there's anything else that I would desire. In fact, in some sections of the track, I think it was even too fast. This car just absolutely rips. So, huge shout out to BMW for entrusting us with this car to take it to our favorite little track day, and hopefully we did it justice. But a couple little things they could fix, I think, here and there, but the big picture with this car is spot on, and they've just done this right, in my opinion. So those are my thoughts on the 2026 BMW M2 CS. Genuinely one of my favorite cars that we've done this whole road trip to the track sort of thing in. One last thing I want to talk about before we wrap this up is how well this adaptive cruise system does. This is one of the most natural feeling systems that I have experienced. So I think kudos to BMW there as well for including some creature comforts here in this CS. Obviously, we've already talked about that, but also some driver aids in this car. It is nice to see. Seems to be quite the eager system, and I like that. So, all right, well, that is going to be a wrap here for our road trip, finally. And I hope you guys have enjoyed another one of these little road trips to the track and back. They're always very fun videos to make, so I hope you guys are still enjoying, because I am still enjoying making them. And if you have any questions about the G87 M2 CS, please ask me. But I feel like I've covered just about everything in this video. There will also be a track video on Winding Road Magazine. There will be a track video and probably a street drive on the Topher channel. So plenty of content from the Topherverse coming your way here on this M2 CS. But that's going to wrap it up for this one as we exit the highway. And man, I am ready to go home and probably just go to bed, to be honest. I am exhausted. Racetrack takes a lot from you. Lots of brain power required. But appreciate you guys coming along for the ride. And, well, I guess we will see you in the next one. Take care.